For us, where children congregate most frequently is in schools. There are 1.2 million public school students just in the 5 boroughs. By themselves, that's the 10th largest city in America. There are 1,400 public schools and there are 7,100 churches, evangelical, charismatic, and Pentecostal churches. Those churches all preach a gospel of a God who answers prayer. What might happen if 6.5 churches were actively engaged in prayer for every one school? For generations, our schools have failed to educate kids. We promise kids that if they stay in school and they get equipped, they'll be able to live the lives that they desire for themselves. But at the end of the day, 60% of public school students still can't read at grade level. 70% still can't do math at grade level, which means that populations larger than the cities of Seattle, Boston, and Washington, D.C. cannot do the Bible studies that our pastors tell them to do from Monday through Saturday because they don't have the literacy skill necessary to read the Bible. That means they can't calculate tithes. They can't manage checkbooks. They can't maintain their household finances effectively because our schools have failed to equip them to be who God has called them to be. It's a mandate from Scripture that we would not suffer children to come to God, that we would empower them and equip them to be who God has called them to be. The perfect way to do that is for churches to recognize their missional responsibility to those schools. Our goal is that by September 2008, we would have not 7,100, but 1% of those 7,100 churches that would make a commitment to an active, engaged relationship with the local school. That's 71 churches. The children who begin first grade in September of 2008 are the high school graduating class of the year 2020. It's our conviction that this is the last generation where we fail to meet our promise to educate them effectively. The only way we will make good on that is if the Church of Jesus Christ heeds the call and gets engaged. 2020 is a strategy to move churches from the current status quo of very little to no engagement to one that begins with prayer, moves to a relational building of trust, to acts of service, to ongoing ministry presence on campus, and ultimately to the credibility to be able to speak to policy decisions. What moves us along that matrix, if you will, is our vocational calling and recognizing that God has already equipped every congregation to be an answer to those prayers. Every single congregation in New York has in its pews parents, grandparents, students, teachers, custodians, principals, and all the rest. People who don't have to be sent because they're already there. And it's our mandate to equip them, to give them the skills, to be the ones that can be the answers to those prayers, to effectively change the dynamics, to change the landscape so that our kids have what it takes to be who God has called them to be.